Agora lá dentro.
Yep. Most of them are peeled off, the bark is peeled off. So we are in January 2023. During August I've been here and I didn't notice this one, so I don't think this one is new, but I didn't notice it, which is strange. I only noticed that one over there. Which is expected to have some structures. Maybe another day I will go back there. I'll go up there and try to find something new. I can't find anything just by looking there. So there is nothing near these two structures. Cuts the track. Já vamos aí, vamos por aqui primeiro.
Vou perceber aquele que está ali, se me esqueço-me de... Não fui a tudo, mas... Não consigo perceber se são as caudas lá dele. Estão ali no meio.
Já lá passamos, é perto daquele caminho, acho eu. Checking the river for footprints. Ali pegadas, mas é do verão. Pato. É uma bota. Isto não é... Já vamos, espera aí.
Pode não ser nada, é usado.
Não, eu vi a arte partida. Já vi lá. Sei lá. Eu pensava que isto era um caminho, mas só é de verão. Vai dar ao rio. Eu só vi. Sim. defunto aí no mercado. Quem é que o faz, não sei. Esse curso. Rodeer.
Tinha aqui mais.
The hair was here, but I think it was hair or fiber. Those are the broken sticks. The other piece of fiber or hair was on the other side. And this is scat from a big deer. You can see with my hand.
Mas
Espera,
espera,
não
mas
avances
aqui...
mais, não avances mais.
Não, deve ser dos abutres, olha, dos grifos, olha ali a pena.
Ok.
Ia
É
buscar a
penugem.
pena.
Por isso é que é.
A pena é minha.
So the mystery was solved. This is a griffin feather, and all those fibers that are around are from the inner feathers of the vultures that have come down to eat the deer. And this is not a roe deer, it's a red deer. You call it in the United States an elk. So it's an elk with 1 year old, a male, that is difficult to know the cause of death, but there are some hair, some fur, but it's fur from the deer. Some legs are broken and were just, they were pushed from inside the body of the deer. I don't know how this happened, but it takes a lot of force to push. Vera, é que estas patas da frente foram arrancadas.
Pois, eu estava a pensar como é que os abutres teriam feito uma coisa destas que está aqui, não me parece.
Olha aqui as omoplatas que deviam estar dentro do corpo do veado. Foram arrancadas.
Yeah.
Bem, depois dele apodrecer é fácil.
Não dá para ir levar os cornos, não?
Não, e os cornos são pequeninos. Isto é um cervato de 1 ano. É um macho com 1 ano que já tinha 1 ano a crescer. The antlers are 1 year old antlers. So it was a young buck. We call it in Europe red deer. You guys in the States and Canada call it an elk. More of those fibers from the vultures. They have left a lot of fibers from the inner feathers that keep them warm. I don't know about the legs. They were pushed over from the front, but if the deer is rotten, it's easy. If it's not rotten, I don't know how. It was eaten from the back, so all the back was eaten, and the guts, the front, not so much. Estás a ver? Assim já confirmamos que as cenas são mesmo de... So hi guys, So by now, you have already realized that what I was finding was indeed strange. I stopped recording on that moment to took some photos because I had already realized what I was seeing, and I was seeing a mutilation event on a wildlife species. They usually occur in cattle and are easier to find out in cattle because ranchers know their animals. They do visit them every day to see if everything's all right on the pastures. So it's easier to find cattle mutilations than to find wildlife mutilations, although they occur also, and there are records of it also. So here you can see that this was a very strange killing, even if you are thinking that's a killing by wild animal. But here you can see the exact incisions and the exact same tissue samples that whatever take these samples are taking them the same way. So they cut all around the mandibles, so all around the mouth. They take the eyes also, and they take generally they take the tongue and the soft tissue of the head, like the eyes, the tongue, and they leave all the rest of the animal intact. So that's what happened here. You can see something is going on with the legs, and I'm also going to address the legs, but before that, I'm going to address the rear end of the red deer, this young buck, one here, young buck. So what happened here, I think it was, and as you can see in some other examples that I'm going to show you in a moment from other cattle mutilations, most people say that generally scavengers and animals don't take on the cadaver for a few days or weeks. So this could also be the case, although there's a big population of griffon vultures in the Pyrenees, so they lack food, so they need to feed, and they have they have stomachs and they have the anatomy to cope with very difficult bacterial problems. So it doesn't matter if the cadaver is decomposing; they manage to heat them. They manage to heat that rotten meat without them having any problem eating it. So they generally do it by the back. So I don't know if these young buck of red deer was their reproductive organs were taken out or not, because the griffon vultures were probably feeding from the back. So they done a big mess, and they took, as you can see here, they took the meat from the back, but they do not touch on the meat in the front or the ears or the legs. Um, um, but you can see on this photo that the tissue around the eye and the eye was taken, and the tissue around the mandibles was also taken, with a perfect incision, like all the other mutilation examples that some of you may know, some of you may have never heard about this. So here you can see that although they took the eyes, they leave the ears. Sometimes in cattle they take what we think it could be alien activity. They take the ears also, but the ears of the red deer was left behind, and they took only the eyes, the tissue around the eyes, as you can see. All the tissue around the eyes was taken, and the perfect cut, probably laser cut around the mandibles and around the soft tissues of the mouth, without leaving, as you can see here, without leaving any blood around it. The soil is clean, and all the mess you can find on this area was on the back and done by the griffon vultures, probably a few weeks after. because there are some reports of radiation on the spot. Me and Vera didn't took any precautions. Unfortunately, we didn't knew. We stumbled upon this thing in the middle of the forest, so we were just amazed and taken by surprise. So we didn't took any precautions with the radiation. So I hope everything is okay with us. We wouldn't. It would be very difficult to know that. So after I understand what it is, I tried not to stay on that spot for long. So we stood there for at least 15 minutes. I took all my photos, and I was clearly in shock with myself with finding this and knowing what this meant, and knowing that could be some problem with radiation. I tried to not stay there for long. So we went away, with me and my brain trying to compute with all of this. It was very strange. So now about the legs, as you can see, probably on another, as you can see, this is the scapula. This is the scapula of one of the legs, and the other scapula is down there on the bottom. As you can see, it's around here. So these legs were ripped. They were pulled and ripped from the body. And I don't know how anyone could have done it. It's like, and anyone who have dismantled a carcass of a cow, of a sheep, and is acquainted with dismantling the meat piece by piece to put it on your fridge, or to put it for later you can consume. So you have to dismantle the whole animal, and you know that taking the legs like this and ripping the legs from the vertebra on the back would take an immense force to do that. I don't know who have done that. That's very strange, almost as strange as all the incisions on the mouth that are giving this event as a cattle mutilation. So I don't know who have done this with the legs, with the front legs. They have ripped the scapula. Here you can see the scapula. They have ripped the scapula from the body with ease. You can even hear me saying on the video that with the rotten cadaver that would be easier, and it would be, but with a fresh cadaver that would be very difficult to do. You cannot rip a limb from a body of any animal with these if you don't have extreme strength and force. So now we are going to see a few videos.
Everyone, there is a Missouri rancher that's getting tired of making some disturbing discoveries on her land.
Well, cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery. Zach Tecklenburg traveled to Henry County to see it for himself.
Yeah, 3 different cows on 3 different days found mutilated. Their owner is out of rational explanations, and that has her looking to the sky.
I'm normally a very private person, but I'm willing to do this because it's just something I want some answers to.
Henry County rancher Lynn Mitchell is perplexed. She found one of her 1,500-pound cows dead in the pasture on July 19th. Its tongue sliced out, its heart exposed.
It wasn't detached, it was just hanging out there.
Something similar happened just 3 weeks earlier.
I looked at first to see her tongue was gone, then immediately noticed the udder had completely been removed.
Lynn says this cow's reproductive organs were gone too. Making the death more mysterious, this char mark, still visible today, surrounded the cow. Lynn couldn't believe it was happening again. She found the first cow more than a year earlier, December of 2011.
She had obviously been cut on the side of her jaw. Her tongue was gone, her ear was gone.
In all 3 deaths, Lynn says the cuts were clean, like they were done during a surgery, and there was no blood despite the animal's gaping wounds. And since the cows graze in such an isolated place, nobody saw or heard a thing. The sheriff's department and a veterinarian have investigated, but just like Lynn, they can't find an answer.
The more it happens, the more questions you get, and the more you try to research and learn, you find more and more things that make you ask more questions.
With all the reasonable causes debunked, Lynn says she's open to the possibility that extraterrestrial life could be responsible. Similar cases of animal mutilation have been reported in Missouri in the past few years. The FBI nearly investigated in the 1970s. With the unsolved mysteries looming, aliens have become a common answer. Lynn's not sure what's right. She just wants it to stop.
Something happened to these cows, and it's not something that you see every day. It's not in your normal, so something else is going on.
Lynn also says the vet and the deputies could never find bullet wounds or any other ways the cows could have been taken down. She's considering installing security cameras in case the person or the thing responsible ever comes back. Zach Tech.
So, and you can Google it. You can Google it. You just type cattle mutilation, and you can see a huge amount of journalists and pieces of journalism showing you that how many the thousands of cases that have been happening since the 60s, I think, in worldwide, mostly in North America and South America, I think, but it's worldwide phenomena.
To continue part 2 of my ongoing animal mutilation investigations with Lost Farms Inc. in Brookville, Kansas, that began.
So here I'm showing you the amazing YouTube channel of Linda Moulton Howe. She's an Emmy Award journalist that was recognized for her journalism around and investigating cattle mutilations and later all the UFO phenomena. So she has an amazing YouTube web page called Earthfiles. If you want to see more about everything around the UFO phenomenon and around cattle mutilation, you just put on YouTube Earthfiles and take a moment of your lives and see what Linda has to say. She knows a lot about this issue.
And on December 8th, a month ago. The owner is Mark Loss, 59, who farms 200 Black Angus and a variety of colored cows in collaboration with his 50-year-old brother, Brent. They are third-generation farmers from Germany and Denmark who have ranched in Kansas the past half-century. Their last name is spelled L-A-A-S and pronounced Loss. Mark Loss had never heard of animal mutilations until his cousin, Mike Jensen, lost one of his Black Angus in a mutilation death on November 21st, 2021. Mike's was one of 3 similar but strange cattle mutilations in the Brookville and Gypsum, Kansas region. The new high strangeness has been a thin coating of watery blood on the exposed cheek and jawbones. Very different from the dry, bloodless, rectangular excisions like this in animal mutilations investigated by law enforcement for the past 60-some years. This bloodless Caldwell, Kansas steer in 1992 is the more typical cattle mutilation since the 1960s. Adding to the puzzle were 2 more recent mutilations in central Kansas since 2021 that did not have the watery blood. So, the Lost Farms mutilation last month on December 8th, 2022, is the 3rd watery blood cattle mutilation and 5th cattle mutilation in total since January of 2021. All 5 mutilations have been in this central Kansas region that includes the U.S. Army Fort Riley Base, the Atlas Missile Site 4, and the towns of Gypsum, Carlton, Brookville, Lincoln, and Delphos, Kansas, famous for the UFO landing on November 2nd, 1971, that left an 8-foot diameter glowing ring in soil that was photographed by Durrell Johnson with his teenage son Ronald. I first became aware of these ongoing Central Kansas mutilations in November 2021 when Mike Jensen called me from the Gypsum, Kansas Black Angus farm near the Atlas Missile Site 4. Mike sent me photographs of his November 21, 2021 mutilated cow, in which the cow's left jaw excision was rectangular, like so many other domestic and wild animal mutilations since the 1960s, and the tongue was removed deep within the throat, like the two other mutilations in Saline County. But why was there watery blood on the jaw bones? Mike also sent me this photograph from nearby rancher Beverly Fullen, 6 miles southwest of Gypsum, Kansas. She found one of her black Angus dead with a rectangular excision of hide from the right cheek and jawbone and right eye missing on May 7, 2022, 6 months after Mike Jensen's similar mutilation. And there again was the watery blood on the jawbones. And then, 6 months after the Fullen mutilation, came the Lost Farms, Inc. strange black cow death on December 8, 2022. There again was the rectangular excision of hide from the left cheek and jawbones covered with watery blood. Here again are the 3 watery blood mutilations side by side. Their exposed white cheek and jawbones look as if watery blood was painted on them after the mysterious rectangular excisions of hide were removed. Here is another mystery that Mike Jensen found in his.
So I can show you another. As you could see, those are the same incisions, the same cuts as you can see on the red ear that I found.
The end of January 1993, the same time that Sue Johnson and the Twilley family encountered lights near their homes, this black Angus cow was found dead in Dawson, Alabama.
Always the same incision around the mandibles and around the mouth.
Its right jaw had been stripped of all flesh. Fife police officer Ted Oliphant found a substance similar to putty on the right rib cage and on the ground near the cow's head, which he collected and had analyzed. Under an electron microscope, the substance appeared as triangular-shaped flakes. Analysis of its composition indicated aluminum, silicon, titanium, and oxygen. It was not a naturally occurring substance, and the question remains: what manufactured product containing titanium would be found on the ribs of a mutilated cow? Similar putty-like substances have also been found on other mutilated animals, like this young heifer in Sterling, Colorado, discovered dead on October 10, 1978, with a putty-like substance laid in 2 parallel lines on her back. The cow also had a typical pattern of excisions. Her lower jaw had been stripped of all flesh, 2 of her 4 teats had been cleanly removed, and the rectal and vaginal tracts had been cored out. That typical pattern of excisions has been repeated over the decades since the 1960s. And occasionally there are even stranger anomalies, like this pregnant cow found in Arab, Alabama on February 4, 1993. Her udder had been removed and the head of her unborn calf was partially outside the birth canal. The calf's left ear and left eye had been cut out and a circle of flesh excised from around the empty eye socket. Unfortunately, no medical examination was performed, nor were tissue samples collected from either the calf nor the bloodless hole where the udder had been. The Alabama case reminded me of other pregnant cows found near Hope, Arkansas in March 1989. Something cut open this pregnant cow, allowing the unborn calf, still in the placenta, to slide out onto the ground. A local newspaper photographer who took this picture said, "There was no blood or fluid on the ground or on the body of the cow or calf, and the placenta was completely dry." This photograph shows the large, bloodless 18-inch by 22-inch cut in that cow's belly. Dr. Altschuler received tissue samples from this mutilator's cut for microscopic examination. He found that the cut had been subjected to high heat, hot enough to cook the hemoglobin, as shown in the orange areas of this photomicrograph. In contrast, this is what normal cow tissue looks like. By February 1993, many more unusual animal deaths and strange moving lights had been reported in northeastern Alabama. My video crew and I had been waiting for a call from local police about any new mutilations so that I could have professional medical tests done on a fresh animal. Finally, on February 25th, my last day in Alabama, and after the video crew had gone home, I did learn about a new mutilation in Sylvania near Fort Payne. The farmer, Kenneth Highland, told me that law officers and a local veterinarian had come and examined the cow and told him that coyotes or dogs had chewed off the udder. When Mr. Highland argued that a knife had cut the udder, the law officers told him to bury the cow and forget it. I explained to Mr. Highland that I was trying to get tissue samples from mutilated animals for medical study and asked him if he would dig up the cow that he had buried only hours before. I think because he was angry about the predator explanation, he agreed. By the time we got to the pasture, it was dark, snowing, and the temperature had dropped into the 20s. The only light we had was from the truck and flashlights, and the only camera we could find was a video camcorder the Weekly Post editor, Carrie Baker, borrowed and operated for the first time.
Do you think that law enforcement or people have been trying to cover this up?
Oh. I would think a 3-year-old kid could tell that was cut away himself.
But from your point of view, this was cut with a sharp instrument.
I think so.
And Mr. Highland was right. We cut 2 tissue samples from the mutilator's excision and sent them to Dr. John Altshuler in Denver. Microscopic examination confirmed the tissue was cut with a sharp instrument. That was the end of February, and law enforcement was busy for several more weeks checking on other mutilations and strange light reports. In Fife, Alabama, on April 7, 1993, the Fife Police Department held its first official press conference about animal mutilations. Media came from Alabama and surrounding states.
Beginning in November of 1992, the Fife Police Department has been conducting an investigation into unexplained cattle mutilations. We've been doing this with cooperation of the local police departments and other law enforcement agencies. These reported incidents began on October 20th, 1992, and have continued through last week in Marshall and DeKalb counties. To date, over 30 animals have been discovered dead in pastures, with various internal and external organs missing. The incisions examined on these animals exhibit precise surgical cutting. In many of the cases, there has been evidence of extremely high heat on the tissue samples. Dr. Jim Armstrong, Auburn Professor of Zoology and Wildlife Science, agrees with us. He states, quote, "It would be obvious if a coyote had been tearing through. The wounds would not be similar to a smooth cut. Coyotes bite through and pull and tear away at the flesh. It would have a chewed-on look. There are other scavenger animals such as vultures that will eat at the softer regions of a cow, but there's not going to be these clean surgical type cuts. There is no way a coyote or other predator inflicted those wounds."
Can you speculate what type of high heats would...
So if you want to see the rest, you just go to Linda's YouTube page, Earthfiles, search for cattle mutilation. You're gonna see a few videos. So let me just go here again. So as you can see, for sure, this is a wildlife species mutilation type event. This is a very strange valley with, and on this day and this night, on that day, I camped not more than 1.5 miles from this spot and this location, and during that night I got the 32 seconds long flat howl that we all think it's Sasquatch. It is Sasquatch. So another during those days, and some things I will share with you guys on the future about this expedition. A few more very strange findings I have found, and we have found, me and Vera, during that expedition, that 1 week expedition on that valley. And sometimes I refer to that valley as the Skinwalker type, like it's not Skinwalker Range, but it's the Skinwalker Valley of the Pyrenees, with very strange things happening there. So in about a week or a week and a few days, I'm going to return. I'm going to do my second expedition during winter. I have already have been there during the summer, so it's probably been my third or fourth time there. And during this winter expedition, I'm expecting to find a lot more. I really don't want to find more cattle mutilated animals. It's very strange. I was in shock during that night. I haven't slept well because I already knew that I was sleeping like 1 mile from a site that an event like that had happened a few weeks. So I was somehow fearing for my life and for my safety and Vera's safety. But we agreed to stay there and to sleep, and on that night I got that recording of that long flat howl, which is also amazing. And if you guys haven't heard it before, you just see on my channel, I have a few videos, and I have a short one just showing you the audio that I've recorded, so it's easy to find out. So that's about it. I will show you guys on the next video, and I don't know if I'm going to do a 2-part or a 3-part video about this expedition last winter. But you have to wait for a while. Some things I'm still thinking that I'm going to keep them for myself, at least for a few months, until I know for sure what I'm dealing with. But for sure, I'm going to share them with you in the future. So you guys take care. A happy new year for you all. I haven't said that before, so a happy 2024. And see you guys later. Bye-bye.